gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
This is the Early Bird Special. And just as we have throughout the rest of the week, we're going to wrap up our thoughts here on the NFL teams before we get the season started. We've given you guys the South, North, and West Coast divisions already. Today, we wrap it up with the East. I'm going to let Sparky start because we're going to go with the AFC East first, and I already know who he's got at the top of this list, so go ahead and tell him, Sparky.
Well,
Go ahead and tell him.
I'm not going to say my predictions of wins, but I will say the Dolphins are going to take the AFC East.
You're not going to give us a win total?
Crazy. Call me crazy. I think they win all the games until they don't.
Okay.
That's as much as I'm going to give you. But I think the Dolphins are going to continue to stay under the radar, and as long as people are talking about the secondary, then they're not talking about Tua.
True.
And I know it's been the headline, Tua hasn't thrown any interceptions. And, well, he's also playing against backup cornerbacks and safeties. But I will say that defensive line is going to be scary. Whether or not they bring back Wilkins, we're waiting on the grievance. But I think Miami is going to stay under the radar. And with a healthy Tyreek, who was dealing with injuries all last season, as well as Waddle. And I know there's been some talks of, Keenan Allen working out with Miami yesterday. Hopefully, that would just be another option. And Darren Waller recovering from having a year off should be a nice little dip and dot with the tight end. I know Tua loves his tight ends.
Absolutely.
And ideally, I know in the last week they picked up Jack Jones and Mike Hilton from Cincinnati to play some cornerback help. I still think they're either going to get Rasul Douglas, maybe Gilmore, ideally Samuel, which luckily he came out after his dad bashed the Dolphins, that his daddy doesn't speak for him. So that still leaves the door open, and I know there's also been some talks about bringing in Justin Simmons to team up with Minka at the safety position. I think Miami's going to be better than they were last year. I would not be surprised if it's a better season than last year as long as Tua is standing upright. Mm-hmm. But I'm always going to go with my Dolphins.
No, naturally. That's why I had to let you go first because I knew exactly where this was going to go. Personally, I have the Buffalo Bills obviously at the top. Now, looking at their schedule and everything that's really boiling up this season, you still have to pay guys like James Cook. I realize that, but Buffalo last year did a lot with very little. In fact, it did so much that it got Josh Allen the MVP. Now, do we see Josh Allen return to that form this year and have this entire coming of age, finally getting to that mountaintop? I don't think so. I don't think it's the year for the Buffalo Bills. I know a lot of analysts and insiders say that they believe the Buffalo Bills are going to take that step this year. I disagree. I think it's the Ravens' year, to be honest with you. But I got Buffalo at around 11 to 13 wins this year. It's going to be a respectable year, especially with, again, the questions at wide receiver. You still haven't found that number one guy. I know they believe and hope that Keon Coleman can come in and be that guy. Jury's still out. I think he had flashes of it last season, but there's a confidence issue that he's going to need to figure out. And I think that skill-wise, he has the ability if they could find the right packages in place to put in place to make it work. You have two great tight ends that you can work with. And honestly, just like I said last year, they had very, very little and were gutted on the defensive side. Still made it happen. The only thing, you're going to see it in week one. Because week one, Sunday Night Football, Buffalo and Baltimore. And to be honest with you, that is going to be the measuring stick for the rest of the AFC. Who wins this game is going to be the one who sets the tone for the rest of the conference. And to be honest with you, I'm still riding with the Ravens, although I will say I'm still giving them a respectable 11, 13 game wins here for Buffalo. I think a handful of them can go either way, but right now you're at least in a playoff spot, taking the division and moving in. So that's a positive step.
With the Dolphins winning the AFC East, I'm going to go with the Patriots actually leaping over the Bills this year.
Okay.
I love the signing of with Vrabel, bringing back McDaniel as the offensive coordinator. I think that's just what Drake May needs. I know a lot of young quarterbacks have succeeded under McDaniel, and I think the Patriots defense was already tough. And with a hell of a draft that they had this offseason, I'm thinking the Patriots are 9-10 game win season, and I think they leapfrog the Bills, leaning on back to the Bills. I think the Bills take a step back. I think their window closed after last year. I think that was the year that they needed to make it because of the team you just brought up is the Ravens. Not only not counting out the Chiefs and some other teams like the Texans who could take a step forward, but I think the Bills losing out on a couple receivers, their defense has been hit and miss, and I think we see it right in week 1. I know the Ravens lost a nose or right at the end of week 1 last year to start off the season, but like I said the other day, I think that core that the Ravens have put together and another year behind with Henry and Lamar just building that core together, I think the Ravens are going to be the team to beat in the AFC, not the Chiefs. And I just think the Bills will be a 9-8, 8-9 team, and I have them at third in the AFC East.
Okay. I mean, again, I agree with you that I had the New England Patriots at number 2, but the reason I have the Patriots at number 2, one is the returning of the coaching. I do think that we're going back to the Belichick era, and I think the reuniting of Vrabel and McDaniel is going to show a lot of people that although Bill is a great coach, he benefited from having 2 fantastic coaches right next to him. Much like I said yesterday about the Detroit Lions, 2 days ago when we talked about the North, when you have 3 bona fide head coaches on your squad at the same time, it looks easy. And it is easy because that's just how good they are. So I think that you're going to see that this year. Not to mention when you look at the schedule for the New England Patriots, 6 of these games I'm looking at right now are automatic W's. Honestly, I'm sorry, Raider fans, but week 1 against the Raiders, that should be a win. Week 4 against the Panthers should be a win. Week 6 against the Saints. Week 8 against the Cleveland Browns. Honestly, I'll even say week 9 against Atlanta and week 13 against the Giants. For sure, 100% should be wins, along with one of those games against the Jets at least in week 11 on Thursday Night Football or week 17. Either way, that's 6 automatic wins for the Patriots. The rest of the squads, or the rest of the teams they'll be taking on, true, you'll have to take on Buffalo a couple times and Cincinnati this year, but most of these games, outside of the Baltimore game and the other 2 I just mentioned, are winnable. Miami, winnable. Pittsburgh, absolutely winnable. Tennessee, 100% winnable. And actually, Tennessee should be on that short list of games that should be an automatic win, but until we see how good Cam Ward is, I can't really put them on that just yet. And to be honest with you, so that automatically puts them, I would say, about 8-9 games, if I'm being honest, which is a tremendous step forward for the New England Patriots. That's the only reason I have them over your Miami Dolphins right now, because I do have the Dolphins. Their floor is a little bit smaller. I got you guys about 7-9. So it's going to be a battle for that second spot in the AFC East, in my opinion.
I think if they bring in one of these corners I brought up and, adding that third receiver with the veteran, I think that would just benefit not only Tua, but the Waddles and the Tyreeks. You throw in a Keenan Allen in there, I just think it's going to be opening it.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
But my thing is with the Patriots is, one, I believe in Vrabel.
100%.
Vrabel shouldn't have lost his job in the first place. But secondly is, can Drake May, I think they're going to put out the platter perfectly for Drake May, and now it's just him to step in and do it.
And be the guy that they were hoping you would be. And honestly, I think he's going to be. There was no sign last year that made us really doubt that. In fact, there were certain situations, because he had the worst offensive line in football last year, if we're being honest. Yep. It was ugly, and he made it work.
And Stevenson is a beast.
Yes, and at this point, I think the Patriots have a lot to build on. I think that it's just working out really well, and this could be one of the quickest rebuilds we've ever seen.
And then, just looking at the wide receiver core, they're not the big names besides Diggs.
Right.
But Demario Douglas and Mac Hollins, those are 2 under-radar badass receivers.
Mac is a stud. I don't know why this guy bounces around so much and people can't, commit to him.
Dolphins, Raiders, Bills.
Atlanta. I mean, when he was with Atlanta, he was a stud. I was like, dude, why are we letting this guy go? When he was a Raider, he was a stud. I'm like...
Dolphins, he's the one that got the catch to beat the Raiders when Fitzpatrick got his helmet ripped off.
And I
mean, this guy's a stud.
There's something about him, though, the teams just can't get behind. I don't know if it's just his weird personality, because he is an outlandish guy. We're talking about the guy who, in Buffalo, walked into the stadium while snowing barefoot. So he's an outdoorsy guy. He's a little bit different, but I have to agree with you. I mean, it's not the flashy names in New England right now, but those guys, especially if Diggs takes a little bit to get back on the field for some reason, which he's already back on the field, so you would assume he'd be ready for week 1. If you can get all three of those guys at 100%, Drake's got some great receivers to throw to, not to mention Hunter Henry at tight end. And it's one of those situations where I agree with you. The schedule's lining up this way, the way the team is built. I think that Vrabel turns this around and makes this a ridiculously quick rebuild.
Well, we'll take our last break of the hour. We'll wrap up the AFC East. And then at the top of the hour, we'll wrap up our recap of the NFL teams by division with the NFC East right here on the Early Bird Special. So we'll wrap up the AFC East on the Early Bird Special. Obviously, I'm going to go with the Dolphins, and then I swapped out the Patriots and the Bills, as Burdick did kind of the opposite. He's got the Bills taking the AFC East again, with the Patriots leapfrogging over
the Dolphins.
So we agree on one. The Jets will finish 4th in the AFC East.
100%. So we technically agree on 2. The only ones we disagree on are Buffalo and Miami.
Which is a normal thing when I'm dealing with the Josh Allen fan club president over here.
Absolutely, which I will be wearing my Josh Allen jersey at some point in the season.
But the Jets, and before I get away from the Dolphins, I did see a rumor that the rival jerseys, which we'll see later in August as they get revealed, but the Dolphins rumor is a black helmet with the orange Dolphin logo and a black jersey with the orange teal number, which I used to have a merino reversible that looked just like that, but we never wore it.
No. It would look clean, but can I throw this out there? Does everybody need a black uni now?
Yes.
Y'all just want to be Atlanta so bad, don't you?
I think
everybody want to be Atlanta, the Michael Vick Atlanta era so bad. Everybody want a black uni now. I think
of the Bulls black and red.
Regardless, that wasn't football. That was basketball. Basketball teams can do whatever they want over there. This is football. Everybody got first the Cardinals.
We're a Raiders station. If you're going to talk about black unis,
I gotta throw the alternate because it's an alternate. It's not the main one. We know the Raiders are black and silver. We know. I'm not talking about y'all.
But the AFC East gets a lot of trash talking. They think, oh, it's the worst division. It's the worst. I think it changes some minds this year, because not only I think the Dolphins will be a better team than they expect.
Absolutely.
But the Patriots are getting better. The Bills are the Bills. And I think the Jets are actually going to take a step forward, but still be at the bottom of the division.
I see. This is where I'm kind of stalling out, because I do have your Dolphins going anywhere between 7 to 9 wins. And honestly, I think you guys are going to start out hot. Your first 8 weeks of the season are going to be smooth sailing all the way through Atlanta in week 8. But then you look at week 9 on, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington, out of country.
Bring them on.
Back to back. Then your bye week. Then you got probably 1 or 2 automatic wins, I'd say, with the Saints and the Jets. Although the Jets is at home, so that one's one of those toss-up games that you never really could tell if you're going to win or lose. And then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Bengals, the Bucks, and the New England Patriots. Honestly, I think you guys are 8-8 along with the Patriots until that Week 18 game, and then that flex game is the one who puts either one of you above the other.
Patriots hadn't beat us in years, so bring them on.
I get it.
Line them up.
But again, you're in Foxborough in the dead of winter.
Good. Let's change some minds this year.
I agree. I think it'd be a great year to do that. But
this is the year to do it, because if not, McDaniel's going to be looking for a job.
Now, 100%. For the Jets, I got you going 5 wins maybe.
Yeah.
I
put 5 to 7.
Looking at their schedule and the way this is all lining up, I mean, they got to play Denver, Dallas. Obviously, we talked about Buffalo, Baltimore. You got just teams in here that I just think you're going to get outclassed. Honestly, I think week 1 against Pittsburgh is going to be a big tell. Sorry, Shauna, but
I think they beat them.
Do you think they beat Pittsburgh?
I think they beat the Steelers to start the season, and then they kind of just
fizzle
back
out after that. It could happen. It really could, especially with the entire Aaron situation. And I could see that going that way where Aaron loses and the media blows up saying, oh, Pittsburgh's not what we thought, and the Jets could be the team. And then you go against Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Miami, and Dallas and Denver and go 1-5.
That's what I think is the Justin Fields. It could go either way. But I think locking in their number one receiver, their number one corner, they've got some pieces, and that defense is always tough. But my thing is I still think they have glaring holes to fill to actually keep them competitive.
And honestly, which is weird to say, right? Because, I mean, you have guys like Breece Hall on this team. You just mentioned Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. I mean, you have young stars at dang near every position. So realistically, you should be at that level. But there's just a looming curse or something, much like the Browns over the Jets. I don't know what it is, but they just can't seem to put it together. The scheduling isn't going to help you this year. The only difference I see is, unlike Miami's schedule, New York's schedule gets a little bit easier after week 9, after their bye week, but it's going to there's a lot of these teams I can't say that you're going to outclass, including teams like New England and Miami. Shoot, even Jacksonville, because if Jacksonville could figure it out with Travis Hunter, I would put them over the Jets right now, which is really hard to say. But it's one of those situations where the Jets are going to be coming at the bottom. I think you're fighting for probably a top 5 pick in next year's draft and trying to retool and figure out, hopefully not another quarterback situation, but at least somebody to protect Justin so he doesn't have to run all over the field.
Yeah, and if he could stay healthy.
Yeah, because that was the other thing too, right? Was the early injury really was kind of a bad omen, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Just like you had it happen with Aaron in the first drive of that season, and now we're talking about it in preseason of this year with your brand new quarterback. It's a bad omen. I'm telling you, there's something about this that I don't like, and I hope Justin doesn't get hurt. Like, that's knock on wood straight up, but it's the Jets. There's just something about the Jets that I have never been able to figure out why they can't shake it, but it's just the organization.
Just in the season, Jets.
I don't know. Again, but that is where I have the AFC East right now. I know, obviously, these things could change at any point in time. Injuries happen throughout the season, and God only knows. Josh Allen, again, knock on wood, might get hurt, and Buffalo Bills might be at the bottom of the division. Who knows?
Well, we got a couple texts regarding this. The first listener said, I'm taking the Finns to win the division. It'll be a close one with the Bills, then the Pats and Jets. This other one says, Mariners are making some good moves in trades. I think they are going to surprise some teams come playoffs.
Honestly, you could say they are now one of the favorites to creep up into that World Series area.
That'd be beautiful. The other one says, you're crazy, Sparky. The Bills own the East, and Josh Allen gets another MVP.
Ooh, I won't go that far. Don't get crazy on the Josh Allen on the MVP thing. Back-to-back MVPs would be fantastic, but I don't think it's going to be that kind of a season for Buffalo.
The other one says, Ohtani will never be a closer. I am starting to like this idea because it seems he doesn't hit well when he's pitching, but don't think Roberts is smart enough, or maybe he's just waiting to make that switch when the playoffs come around.
Okay, so what they're saying is he will not be the closer, but they're liking the idea of him being a closer. See, look at that. I'm turning around Dodger fans.
Now they're blaming Roberts.
I'm just saying, man. Like, look, Dave Roberts is who he is. I know Dodger fans like to give him grief and call him out on a lot of stuff, and as you should. You should always feel free to call out your coach on dumb, dim-witted mistakes that he makes, because I'm not going to lie to you, Roberts makes a handful of them throughout the year. But can you really, question what he's done for your organization? World Series winner? I mean, I say trust him. Year. Yeah, he's competitive every year. He puts it, to be honest with you, I don't know if there's a lot of managers that can manage this many stars.
Right.
We've seen it across sports. Like, sometimes being a coach isn't all about just benefiting from the roster you have. It's knowing how to utilize that roster. I mean, I know I usually use basketball as an example because they're usually the easiest to do, but take the big three for Brooklyn. Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. That should have been a cakewalk. Not a single coach they could find could actually put that together. Now, granted, none of the players could actually be on the court together. But there have been multiple instances like that where you have a team that should have worked but didn't. Phoenix, obviously, being another one that you could talk about with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. Although, looking at position-wise, it shouldn't work that way, but you could have had a coach figure something out. So if you're going to gripe about Dave Roberts, at least know that there's probably not a managers out there in baseball that can do what he does. And
that's a lot of egos.
Grass ain't always greener on the other side, man.
Not
I'm going
everybody's
to tell you
Phil
right
Jackson.
now. No, not everybody's Phil Jackson. That's a very good point. So take that into account as well if you're a Dodger fan. I know none of you truly hate Dave Roberts. I know you don't. I know you like to complain, and I get it. You have to find something to complain about when your team is so good. So I completely understand. But give the guy a break. He's doing what he can. Still say Shohei for your closer. And I'm going to harp that until the day I die. This is the Early Bird Special. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll talk about the NFC East. Are the Cowboys going to be able to pull it off this year? We'll let you know. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. We have given you our thoughts for the AFC. Oh, that was a good one. We've given you your thoughts on the AFC East. If you're watching our YouTube channel, you'll know what I'm talking about. Go check it out. I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret. You have to actually see it.
What?
See, you don't even know. Sparky don't even know. It happened behind his back. He'll have to go back and watch the YouTube channel too. Just saying. Let's talk about the NFC East, because this might be probably the easiest one to wrap up, because I got it the exact same way it happened last year, if I'm being completely honest. Not the same wins, obviously, but number one, still until I am shown otherwise, arguably the second most stacked roster in football. And you can argue they are the most stacked roster in football because they were Super Bowl champions, but the Philadelphia Eagles, absolute studs. Behind Saquon Barkley, you can only hope that we get 2 straight healthy years from Saquon. And if you do, I got them winning about 12 to 14. It should be a cakewalk.
Exactly.
And it sucks to say, because it's one of those situations in football where you really don't want to see dynasties happen all the time. I know we got bored when it came to the Patriots dynasty. Not a lot of people liked that. I think Philly could be different. I think Philly could be one of those fun teams to really get behind, see win the Super Bowl multiple times in a row. It is an exciting team to watch. I know a lot of people are up in arms about the whole tush-push situation. Look, man, figure out how to beat it.
Yep.
And honestly, if you get penalized first, maybe that's the way the NFL has to go about fixing it. You got to show them that there's no way for you to actually defend it in order for them to fix it.
Stop them on first and second.
Exactly. So if teams can figure that out, I will be eating crow, and most likely I would see the Washington Commanders being that team to step up into the fold as number one. But right now, until I see otherwise, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and this incredible offensive line of Philadelphia are going to plow through literally every team they can, maybe lose about 3 or 4, because that's just how the NFL is. There's certain every given Sunday kind of a thing. But probably 14 games and number one in the NFC overall.
Yeah, I see the Eagles being one of the toughest teams to beat, and I mean, until someone else beats them, especially in that division, and I'll go down with the same thing with the Commanders. And number 2, I mean, the big eyes are going to be on Jaden this year to see if that sophomore slump thing is a real deal. But until we're proven different, I think they lock in Scary Terry. I know there was a report, Schefter reported this morning, saying there was 8 to 10 teams calling the Washington football team every day, trying to bite some McLaurin, but they continue to say he is not going to be traded. So I think they lock him in sooner or later, and I think the Washington Commanders, as long as Jaden can continue to grow, I think they'll be right on the Eagles' tail.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's what you would hope. But like we said about the Denver Broncos, the likelihood of this working out in the second year is very minuscule. And to be honest with you, Jaden has the ability to be a top 10 quarterback in the league. We saw it last year. So did CJ Stroud. I don't think Jaden takes that big of a step back. I think it's going to be pretty parallel to what we saw from CJ last year in his sophomore season, because CJ didn't take necessarily a step back as more as he didn't take any step at all. He was the exact same of what we saw, which in a way you could see as a negative, because you always want your star players moving forward every single season and getting better, not stalemating. So I think that's what you're really going to see from Jaden this year is he's going to be equally as good as he was last year, but it's going to be so that it kind of gets him overshadowed by a lot of the other guys that are excelling rather than just staying stagnant. You know what I mean? And honestly, when you're in a division like this one where you play against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cowboys, media is just as big as winning football games. So when you're talking about a Washington Commanders team that's going to probably be second place in the division, and much like the AFC East, I have the Cowboys and the Commanders really fighting it out for this spot. I think the Commanders end with about 9-10 wins, which is respectable, I think, for a year or two for Jaden under a Dan Quinn team that, again, Dan's been shown that he could take a team to a Super Bowl. He just hasn't been able to win it.
The hell is going on behind me, dude?
Again, you got to go back and check out the YouTube channel.
And
I got to look at the YouTube channel.
it must be something in that burrito.
That's entirely possible as well. Maybe
besides the Eagles and Commanders, I think the Cowboys, I mean, they're one of those teams. There's only been a few that we've ran down, but it's one of those teams I'm a little on the fence with. I know CD is one of the top 3, top 5 receivers, and I think Dak could be playing his way out of Dallas this season. I think the words from Jerry this offseason and really every offseason, but I think I'm just going to be keeping an eye on that offensive line as, you know, they've missed they lost a few players and I mean last year winning 7-10, I think they're going to be under 500 this year, and surprisingly I don't think the Giants are going to be as bad as everyone thinks. I think really the sob story is going to be the Saints. And sadly, I think the Jaguars could be down there at the bottom too. But going back to the NFC East, I think the Cowboys probably win 6-7 games this season. And I've got the Giants at 5 or 6.
Really?
So, I mean, I like the receiving core. I like the Giants defense. They're kind of scary, but kind of hidden under the radar. And Dayball has got to do something to keep his job. I think they both lose their job, not only him and the GM, which they probably should have last year. And I'm kind of on the fence with bringing in somebody like Russell Wilson. But if he starts out, you know, hot in the first month, or if he doesn't, we might just get Jackson Dart in there and see what the hell this kid's made of before they start planning on next year's draft.
If I'm being honest, I do think the Giants are going to be that bad this year. I don't think the Giants are going to win more than 3 games.
So that's the majority. That's what they say.
I genuinely don't. I think the Giants and the Saints are going to be fighting it out for the worst team in the NFL this year. But I see your point. I get why you would think that way and feel that way. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be that bad this year. They're not going to be anybody that really blows teams away, I would say. And you're right, losing a lot of pieces on the offensive line is going to really harm them, especially losing left tackle Tyron Smith, who has been the cornerstone for that for that line forever, along with other guys like Martin and all these other guys who've retired. But it's a retooling for them. I don't know if Jerry really is willing to move off of Dak Prescott.
I think he might be forced to.
I don't even know if he will, because hear me out on this. Jerry, like I said, loves his guys and has never really backed down from that. Even the Tony Romo situation, there were many seasons where we heard Tony Romo might be out as Dallas Cowboy quarterback. But it never happened.
I think if they go 7-10 again, he'll be forced to do something.
Yeah, but again, I think that Jerry has just reached that point in his life where it's Super Bowl or bust just because he wants it to be.
But
he wants one more.
Say Dak goes down and we get to see what Milton is. I think Milton is an easy replace and cheaper.
That's a different situation, though, right? I think that if Dak goes down by an injury and you're forced to do that, then yeah, absolutely. But if, let's say, Dak plays all season, you end up going, like, I think, 3rd place in the division, 8-9, 9-8, somewhere in there where you floundered out and didn't necessarily make the wild card, or you're just out of it. You know what I mean? I don't think you move off of a guy like Dak Prescott just yet, because I don't think it would necessarily be solely blamed on him. Although he would take the brunt of the punishment, obviously being the quarterback for the team, you have to. But there's just something about this relationship between Jerry and his players, and Jerry Jones on the team in general, that just makes me believe that Jerry puts a lot of talk out there. Like we said, 2 weeks ago, Jerry doesn't mind when the Dallas Cowboys are in the news, whether it's good or bad, just because it's the Dallas Cowboys in the news. So if he's the one keeping them in the news, he's happy with that. But if someone like Dak Prescott comes out and claims that he hates playing for the Dallas Cowboys and all this type of stuff and becomes a problem, then obviously it's a different situation as well. But I think right now, with the way Dallas is sitting, what you're going up against every year, because who saw the Commanders coming? Let's be honest. We all knew Jaden was going to be a great quarterback. Let's not get crazy, but who saw them being a 10, 11, 12 win team last year actually coming? I'm going to tell you right now, not a lot of us. Not a lot of us saw that coming. I kind of did, but I didn't think they'd be that good. So Dallas is really just seeing a shift in the competition in all of this. But I do agree with you. When you have teams like the Giants underneath you, it makes it look a little bit easier to just beat up on somebody. So I think Dallas is just in that weird limbo area right now where if you can somehow put it together like you did 2-3 years ago, you can compete. But I don't think Jerry's going to make any drastic moves off of this, especially after paying all these guys this much money. It's going to be hard to move off of a guy like Dak Prescott with his contract.
Well, he's got an option here. He can be out and get his guaranteed up front. But
true.
That's there's going to be a lot of quarterback needy teams this offseason.
I feel like if the move would happen, it'd be more Dak wanting to leave than Jerry saying
and
he's
nobody
done.
wants to leave Dallas.
I wouldn't go that far. You never know, maybe.
When's the last time you saw a quarterback get traded out of Dallas?
You know, that's a good point. They do love being the quarterback of America's team, quote unquote. But before we wrap it up with the NFC East and get to a lot of these other stories of the day, Giants I have at the bottom strictly because I think of what you just said, my friend. As much as I love Brian Daboll, I think that this team needed to fire not only him, but the GM last year and completely retool. Bringing in somebody like Russell Wilson, although probably looks nice, it's not going to help you, I don't think. And the future is bright, I think, with Jackson Dart. I should say, though, that a lot of these teams are starting to move towards the idea of not starting your quarterback or rookie quarterback that early, letting him sit for at least a year and developing him might be the best option if you're a Giant right now. I still have you about 3 games because I don't know. There's not a lot of talent on this team, dude. There really isn't.
I think that defense is tough enough to win 3 or 4 games.
But that's my point. Outside of that, what else can you rely on?
I mean, Russ has shown a couple games that he could win. But we'll see because we've got 2 texts and they're both NFC East fans. The first one says it's the Commanders, not the Redskins. Commanders, Eagles, Cowgirls, and G-Men.
Commanders, well, and honestly, and the other thing we have to bring up too, which is why I wanted to get this done quickly, because the Commanders are awaiting the vote for their new stadium today, which means we're going to really find out if that entire threat from the president is actually going to be legit or not.
No.
But I like the idea of the Commanders coming up and winning, but Sirianni's offenses, you have to take into account too that I think, didn't the Eagles win, I think, the last 18 games of the season last year, something like that? They went on a ridiculous run. And if they come back healthy, there's no reason to believe that streak isn't going to continue.
The next one says, I don't want to be a delusional Cowboys fan, but it's hard to repeat in the NFL, and the NFC hasn't had a repeat winner, so I'm going with the Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, then the Giants. And sorry, Sparky, Bills win the AFC East.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I do know that there hasn't been a repeat winner of the East in quite some time, but I'm going to throw this out there at you. The NFC South had the exact same situation just about a decade ago, and then we started seeing some repeat winners. Although it hasn't happened for quite some time, does not mean it's out of the realm of possibility that a team can come in and dominate.
And we're talking about the Super Bowl champ Eagles.
Exactly.
Not just some regular team.
And that's what I'm saying. And what did it take for the NFC South to have a back-to-back winner? A Super Bowl contending champion in Tom Brady. So at this point, I think the East is built the exact same way. I think the biggest change probably out of the NFC East is going to be that battle between the Commanders and the Cowboys for the second place spot.
Yep.
I genuinely believe that. And that's not a slight against either of those teams. But at this point, I think it's just the Eagles and everybody else in the NFC. It's much like the AFC. It's Baltimore and everyone else. So we're going to see once the season starts, but I don't think you're a delusional Cowboy fan for believing that you can make a run this year. I think your schedule actually looks pretty good, but the likelihood of you taking over the NFC East and beating a team like Philadelphia,
better build that offensive line and hope these rookies step up.
That's the biggest part, right?
But we'll take our first break of the hour. We'll get into some miscellaneous NFL news, and we'll get into this Shannon Sharpe story right here on the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM.